I'd like to call this meeting to order. Hold on.
Roll.
Can I have a roll call vote, please?
Dr. Osborne?
Here.
Mr. Holcomb?
Here.
Ms. Gresham? Ms. Causey?
Here.
Ms. Spear?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved.
Second. Motion by Ms. Spear, second by Mr. Holcomb. Please vote. The agenda has been adopted. Do I have a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Spear, second by Mr. Holcomb. We don't need to. Please vote. You'd think after 8 years I would remember this.
No, I'm not had to.
This question, would you like to vote on the motion to go into executive session?
I vote aye.
Alrighty, we're off in executive session. I wouldn't even sit down.
So Mitra, just stay on. You're connected into the executive conference room, and then we'll hang up out here.
Okay, great.
Mitra, can you go ahead and just say hello to make sure we have you?
Hello?
Okay, great. Thanks. You are live in the boardroom. Thanks.
We're going to reconvene the regular meeting. Now on to item 2.2, Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Baca, would you lead us?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now on to item 4.1, presentations and recognitions. Dr. Baca.
Thank you, Dr. Osborne, members of the governing board and executive team. I'd like to call forward Mr. Luke. And Luke, I'm just going to say Mr. Luke because I can't pronounce your last name. He is the general manager from Culver's, and he'll present the district with the check from their fundraiser proceeds. And on behalf of the governing board, thank you for doing this for Madison.
Welcome.
Oh, and thank you all for all your guys' support. Everyone here basically said they come through all the time, and so we really appreciate that. Yeah, we do our yearly fundraiser for you guys, and it was just our amount sold for our holiday calendar sales. Apologize about getting it out so late, but I wanted to get it done before the end of the year. So again, as much as you guys say thank you for our support, thank you for your guys' support.
And just so the public knows, you have people here with you.
Yeah, So Jason and Brian are the owners of the restaurant, and then I'm actually a multi-unit manager now, and so Paul's actually the general manager of the
Change
location.
of titles. Sorry, Paul, and sorry, Luke. So that's the one I asked for discounts?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you so much, Dr. Osborne. I don't know if you want to say anything else.
No, we really appreciate the support and how good you are to our district. And I think it's really helpful when we have the business community behind us and supporting our efforts. And it does not go unnoticed, and we deeply appreciate it.
Yes. And just one thing, because you've been so generous, we have a welcome back breakfast that we have, and we give gift certificates from all businesses who support the Madison School District. I'm sure you'd be interested in participating in that as well.
Sure.
He's so subtle. He's so subtle. Thank you very much. And any other questions?
Oh yeah, just let me know what you need for that as well.
I will.
Okay.
Miss Humphrey will be in touch with you, or with Paul, either one. Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And the final presentation and recognition tonight is recognizing our new Executive Director for Curriculum and Instruction, Dr. Michelle Wilson. Dr. Wilson brings over 30 years of experience at both the elementary and high school levels. She started her career in education as an elementary teacher and taught various grade levels before becoming an instructional coach for the district. She has been an assistant principal at both K-8 elementary and high school, as well as a high school principal, director for student services for a unified district, and an assistant superintendent for educational service at a high school district. Dr. Wilson holds a master's degree from Northern Arizona University and a bachelor's and doctorate degree from where? The premier university in Arizona, Arizona State University. That was for you, Dr. Osborne. Madison has benefited from Dr. Wilson's vast experience this past year while she served as interim director for student services. I'd like to present to you Dr. Michelle Wilson.
Come on up and say hi.
Well, good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. President Osborne, members of the board, Superintendent Baca, executive team, and esteemed guests, thank you so much for this opportunity. I just want to say briefly, I retired less than a year ago from Tolleson Union High School District. Really thought I was retired. Madison School District called and said, maybe we need an administrator on assignment, and I have fallen in love with serving this district. I love the students, the schools, the community, the staff, the administrators, the executive team, superintendent, and I look forward to serving this community. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'll do my very best. I'll put my head down, I'll work hard, and I just again want to say thank you.
And you have with you...
Oh, I do. I have my better half for almost 40 years. Almost 40. This is my husband, Mark Wilson. So
thank you and welcome.
thank you.
You're very welcome. That concludes the presentations and recognitions. You are more than welcome to stay if you have nothing better to do, but otherwise this would be the time to leave. Thank you very much.
All right, now on to item 4.2, Dr. Baca's last superintendent report.
That's right, my last superintendent's report. So if you'll indulge me and allow me to take this opportunity to first say thank you, to then ask something of everyone, and then to say goodbye. So thank you to our parents, our families, students, and community for supporting me and for challenging me through our agreements, disagreements, tragedies, and celebrations. Thank you to the Madison employees, Arizona's best, for their kindness and their acceptance of me as their colleague and leader, and for placing the needs of each and every individual child at the forefront of everything they've done and they are doing. Thank you to our executive team, so to Lori, Barb, Ramona, Nicole, Danielle, Maggie, and every principal who has served on the executive team. I appreciate just the love and support they have given, not just to me, but to our kids and to our staff. I was coached early on that I should retain and hire people who are smarter than I, and I can tell you, in Madison, that has been the case. You have some smart, bright, capable, but more importantly, caring individuals and executive team. Thank you for your service and all that you do. And to the governing board, Thank you for your leadership and for your support. I don't think everyone recognizes the love that you have for Madison, its people, and most importantly, our children. We have laughed together, we have cried together. We have cheered each other on, and we have seen each other through some difficult times. As I say goodbye to the history and to the moments that I will always treasure, I realize that the door again opens for somebody new to share new and better memories with you. And as my time ends, I wish to take this opportunity to ask the entire Madison community something that I asked of our employees. I ask for your forgiveness if ever there was hurt, your understanding for the difficult and sometimes unpopular decisions that needed to be made, and for your support of our next leader, Dr. Kim Gehring. Finally, I have a very big ask. As a nation, as a world, and as a people, we find ourselves in the midst of turmoil and strife. We, as a public school district, and our entire public education system that is predicated on the belief that a well-educated citizenry is what will make the American experiment of self-government succeed, is under attack and is transforming into something I no longer recognize. I look to all of you to protect what each of us was fortunate to have, and to give every child what they are entitled to if, as a nation, we are to remain free. And that is a strong, comprehensive education system, free of hate, free from bigotry, and where each child is able to think freely, challenge ideas, and learn from our history based on truth, regardless of how beautiful or ugly it may be. I ask that our students have access to all opportunities afforded to every person, regardless of income, ability, race, sexual orientation or identity, or gender. Please continue to protect our public schools. Please continue to protect our children. And in doing so, you will continue to protect our freedom. There are times when we must look back at history to learn from successes and failures, and there are times where we must look forward with a vision in order to plant the seeds for a better tomorrow. But I believe it is incumbent upon us to look somewhere else at this moment in time. I ask that we don't look back. I ask that we don't look forward. Instead, I ask that we look within. We need to look beyond the partisanship that is dividing humanity. We must look within to rediscover what we value and what we love. To love beyond prejudice, bias, and political positions. That is my request of us all. And with that, I say goodbye. So leaving sometimes is tearful, sad, and even heart-wrenching. But I smile because I know in my heart I carry each of you, and no distance will ever change that. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think for board reports, I made an executive decision that we're going to give any farewell items on item 8.2. So for board reports, please focus on other items, and we'll have that as kind of a wrap up when we get to item 8.2. So, Mr. Holcomb, you want to start?
Yes. By the way, I won't focus them, but I do appreciate the call to arms we just had. I do want to remind again the community that we are doing the welcome back, and we are going to be going out in the community to ask for them to businesses and individuals to give us things to show our appreciation to the teachers and staff of the Madison School District. And so if anyone has things that they would like to offer, would like to give, we raffle off and show just random appreciation to our staff, and please, you can contact one of the board members or the district office, and we'll take all donations. We do appreciate it. We appreciate our community, and we want to show the community's appreciation for our staff. Thank you.
Discussion.
Thank you. Let's see. I will also agree with some of Dr. Bach's comments, as hopefully most people know that the legislature is supposedly working on the budget right now, so we will hope that they will prioritize public education. Possibly. And also that we approve the to go out for the override. So I'm sure you'll be hearing from Madison advocates about that. So please support that. And lastly, I got to go to the ASBA Leadership Conference last weekend in Flagstaff. So a lot of good topics are on that. So that's all I have. Thanks.
Ms. Spear.
I have nothing to report. Thank you.
And the voice on high, Ms. Mitrakazi. Mitra?
Ms. Kazi, if you're
I just want to confirm with Dr. Bach's assessment, in the sense that legislation we're the comfortability with teachers and students can learn about because as soon as something will be out about we do so much we don't learn everything but
and Ms. Kazi, I don't know if you're in a bad location, but it was a little bit garbled.
Okay. And I have nothing to report. Mitra, are you back with us?
yeah, I don't know what happened, but yeah, I'm back.
We heard about every fifth word of that very eloquent speech, so if there's anything else you want to add or repeat, that might be advisable.
No, I will email my next comments then.
Okay, perfect. Okay, do we have any calls to the public? We do not. Can I have a motion on the consent items?
So moved.
Ms. Spear with the motion,
Second.
Ms. Gresham with the second. Please vote. Alrighty, now on to item, actually, I'll wait for the motion to come up. The consent items have been approved. Now on to item 7.1, Governing Board argument in support of the special district additional assistance override. Dr. Baca, do you want to introduce this item?
Thank you, Dr. Osborne, members of the Governing Board and Executive Team at the May 24th Governing Board meeting. You as a Governing Board unanimously decided to call for a special election to be held on November 8th, 2022. As what is provided in state statute, governing boards are allowed to submit pro-statements in favor of the district additional assistance override. And here's a time to discuss two options that were written by governing board members that you can decide which you prefer, or you can give us further direction to rewrite it. Dr. Guerin will be bringing this back to you at the special board meeting on July 12th for you to officially approve it. And with that, feel free to start discussing.
All right, thoughts or comments? Maybe who was the draft person of the modified language want to describe their thinking behind that?
The one to the left you'll see is from Ms. Kazi. That's the one that is attached to the agenda. And then today, Mr. Holcomb submitted some revisions that he submitted now. One thing to keep in mind, we are restricted. We no longer are allowed to have each individual governing board member's names listed, so it's just listed as the Madison Governing Board. That and some other restrictions that we were able to modify via the attorney. So our legal counsel has reviewed this for accuracy and in order to make sure we comply with state statute.
Okay, Mr. Holcomb, maybe you start with.
Sure. Well, what I did, I think Mitra did a very good job on the first draft. There were a couple of things that I was going through I thought might be highlighted. I actually did a couple of drafts because you were limited to 200 words, which is almost an impossible thing for a lawyer to do. But part of it is 199 words. So, I think Mitra did a very good job. He used the same themes that Mitra put together, and made some revisions just to emphasize a few other things. So I'm perfectly happy to have other revisions done. But I think Anna Mitra had indicated that she was okay with the revised version as well. But I'd be happy with either one.
Ms. Spear.
I very much appreciate Ms. Kazi and Mr. Holcomb's coming up with this draft. I just had a couple of suggestions. One is to delete the word what, so we're down one more word. In the first sentence of the second paragraph, this district additional assistance override continues existing additional funding, which pays for capital needs beyond the minimum funding the state provides. Or am I reading that wrong? It seems as though what is...
I had the same question.
Say that again?
I had the same.
I would like to defer to the educational experts in the room. Am I offended by the word what when I should not be offended? Right there.
We will call upon Miss Barbara Marshall.
Yes, I'm looking at Ms.
Very
Marshall.
good at this.
And remind me where you're.
It is the first sentence of the second paragraph.
Oh, in the revised.
Capital needs beyond what the minimum funding the state provides. I would like to delete the word what.
Yeah, you could do that, and then.
I think it does need to be removed.
In that same sentence, if we're going to use which, we would need a comma after funding or change which to that.
Oh, I do appreciate your feedback.
And Miss Marshall, I'm just going to call upon you for this. Is it which or is it that?
If you use which, you're separating the clause, so you want it to be separate. If you use that, you want it all together, so it can read either way. It's sort of the meaning that you're looking at. Continues existing additional school funding that pays for capital needs, so all together, or that comma to sort of pause the reader, which pays for.
I would like to propose that we use the word that pays for capital needs. I believe that simplicity is clear is kind, and that for our voters, brevity is also important.
We can also, as part of our motion, allow staff to make any technical or clarifying changes.
Especially those experts in the field, if you will.
And then you had a couple other thoughts.
I did have another thought. I would like to suggest we modify the sentence, the first sentence in the very final paragraph. Please vote yes, otherwise Madison would lose significant critical funding that directly impacts the education of our children, which cannot be replaced from other sources. Instead of which cannot be replaced from our other sources, I would say not available or something to that effect. Which cannot be replaced is confusing, and I think that we should be more clear in our language and state that it is not available, because that is truly the case.
Or we can just end the sentence at children.
There we go. I like that. And then we lose even more. Unless Mr. Holcomb, you would like to explain, or Ms. Kazi, what?
Yeah, if I may. Ms. Kazi ended it at our children. I added the concept that the funds, we run into, as you know, when we go with and try to explain finance, the school finance, we always run into the idea, well, take the money from another pot. And
right.
So I'm perfectly willing to, what I was trying to get at there is we lose funding and we can't replace it. We can't use other funds to replace it. That's what I was trying to do. So if you have, I'm not wed to that language at all. And by the way, your prior comment was correct. When I modified it, I should have taken out the what, and that's that. I thought you were.
May I offer a suggestion?
Yes.
And it goes back to 199 words. So if you end at funding that directly impacts the education of children, you can do a semicolon and says can then read, this funding cannot be replaced from other sources. Or is that still confusing?
If Mr. Holcomb is trying to get at what I understand he is, and I agree, this is a very consistent point of contention with our taxpayers, in that they do not understand we cannot pull money from one pot and replace it in another. Something to the effect of money that is not. I almost like just ending it there.
I think as we know all these nuances, I think simpler, as much as we try to write in all these nuances, the voters don't appreciate those nuances. So I'm fine with just stopping at children, especially since we're up against but I don't have,
I would agree.
I don't have strong feelings which cannot be replaced. I don't find it confusing, but
Fine. I'm fine with that.
Okay.
If everybody else is, I'm fine.
any other thoughts, comments?
No, I like most of what Mr. Holcomb added, because I did want, when I was reading it, I did want something to the effect that, this is I wouldn't say instead of our state funding, but without these, our states, we don't get enough state funding, so we have to do these to, serve the students. So I think you've added some of that, so yeah, I'm happy with it.
And most importantly, Ms. Marshall, if you were grading these two persuasive essays, what would you grade them? No. All right.
She's going to give us a grade.
So now that we have this feedback, we'll make sure we make those revisions. It will be in the hands of Ms. Garvey, but I'll work with her to make sure we are on the same page for that to be put on the next agenda for your next governing board meeting.
Okay. And I would like to make sure that Ms. Marshall signs off on it before we do as well.
Alrighty. Now on to action items. Item 8.1, proposed budget fiscal year 22-23. Dr. Baca.
Thank you, Dr. Osborne, members of the governing board and executive team. Although the state has not passed the budget, as districts we are restricted, or I should say we are dictated by state statute as to when we must adopt a budget as school districts. Therefore, the state has released budget forms that we can use until the state legislature adopts a budget. Ms. Garvey, our deputy superintendent, will be presenting the 2022-2023 proposed budget. That then gives enough time for public to review and provide any comments so that you can take action to adopt this proposed budget at your next special called governing board meeting in July. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Garvey to present.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Dr. Bach, and executive team. Tonight's proposed budget is for our fiscal year starting July 1st and ending next June 30th. As Dr. Baca mentioned, these are preliminary forms that were issued by the Auditor General, as the state legislature and governor have not passed a budget yet. The Auditor General made absolutely no changes from the same formula amounts that were in there for last year's budget. So we have modified these draft forms to account for any upcoming changes that could positively impact us when the budget is passed, mainly those that impact the amounts that we can levy for our overrides. So the inflation, the formula amount per student was increased 2% for M&O, and that included our transportation formula. And then there were additional assumptions built in for some additional funding beyond inflation and for special education, which had been conversations down at the legislature last week when this was being put together. The final forms will be, when the final forms are issued, we will revise our budget to come into conformance with them. And the reason that the Auditor General does release these forms is by state statute, school districts have to pass their budgets by July 5th. Proposed budget by July 5th and their adopted budget by July 15th. So this allows school districts to meet that statute. Even though most of the things that affect us have not been passed, there was a couple legislations that were passed, and one was to update the qualifying tax rate. That is the tax rate that every property owner pays throughout the state of Arizona. That's our equalized amount. It did go down, and then the classroom site fund weighted per pupil allocation by statute has to be set by March 31st, and that was done, and we will see what that impact is in a minute. So along with those increases to the budget, we did honor the budget commitments, and they are built into this budget. Salaries and benefits, and these were all the things that were approved by the governing board back in April.
But salaries and benefits, all employees to receive a 3% salary increase, the phase 2 of decompression, the paid holiday, and increasing the daily rate for subs teaching in Spanish. And then we had some non-M&O commitments that were also in there through ESSER with student behavior supports and increasing pay for teachers on sub-rotation. I swear I'm not touching it. Okay, thank you. So when we look at the total budgeted expenditures, and they do match our budget limit, our maintenance and operation fund is at $44,554,646. Our unrestricted capital is at $12,095,890. Our federal projects are $8,230,000 for a total school district annual budget of $64,880,536. The classroom site fund, as I mentioned, the amount was set. It was set at $708 per student. While this is a decrease from the total formula amount last year's formula did include a one-time only increase. So when you look at the ongoing funding, it was an increase of $15 per weighted student count. The use of those funds that you can use those for there in green is how Madison uses them for teacher compensation, for base pay, and then pay for performance. The total budget for classroom site fund is $7,892,467. When we looked at our major federal state grants, we have $800,000 in Title I. Title II, which is devoted to professional development, is $170,000. Our IDEA Part B, which is special education, is over $1.2 million. ESSER 3, $3 million, and then our results-based funding at $850,000. The average teacher salary is noted on the cover of the budget, the proposed budget. The average salary for next year is $58,863, as compared to this year, where it was $57,149, an increase of 3% or $1,714. And again, this is the average. And that is it for this budget. Are there any questions?
So I do have a question, not necessarily on this piece of the budget. So assuming the legislature gives us a substantial amount, I think somewhere between $300 and $500 million, up to as high as $800 million. The process would be on July 15th, we pass basically this budget revised, and then we would do an additional budget revision once we had some time to kind of adapt and see what we wanted to do with those, if there are new funds. Or just walk me through how that works.
Correct. So if and when the budget is passed, because it obviously will be, then we are given, I believe that the last time that this happened, we were asked to revise our budgets by September to give us that time that you're talking about to figure out how it goes, how it's allocated. So I would be coming back with a budget revision again in late summer, early fall, to address those.
Okay, perfect. And for those who know, I have a little facial hair. I'm not shaving until the legislature passes a budget. So,
it does make you look more intelligent. I mean,
I just pray that my beard isn't as long as Mr. Holcomb before we have a budget. But they do have to have it done by July 1st. So, other comments, questions? Alrighty, and we need a motion to approve the proposed fiscal year 22-23 budget.
so moved.
I will second.
Mr. Holcomb and Ms. Spear with the second. Please vote. Okay, so I've been asked to skip to item 10.1, adjournment, so we can bypass Dr. Baca's last agenda item. But no, why don't we move on to item 8.2, performance-based pay. And it is the board's recommendation that Dr. Baca be awarded the full performance pay amount in the amount of $20,000. And I would suggest my fellow board members, if you want to have some comments on not just a review of this year, but his tenure at Madison. I will see who wants to start first. Don't everyone,
Okay,
since Ms. Gresham is the
I go first.
the shortest tenure, we'll let you go first.
Okay, sounds good. Wow, where do I start? Yes, just thank you for everything you've done for our district, and I knew as a parent before I became a board member, and I'm just really honored that I got to work with you and serve with you, and for the time together that we did have. So it's been amazing watching you lead. You're an inspirational leader, and for getting us through the pandemic the way you did, your responses and your compassion for our community. Yeah, it's just really inspiring, and of course, yes, we will miss you. We will miss you greatly, and you've done amazing things for our district in so many ways, tangible and intangible, that we could never repay. So, thank you, Dr. Bach.
All right. All right. Let's say.
We started with the tenure. Why don't we go with Ms. Cosmias?
All right, I'm board president, so I do get to go last. But,
Mr. President?
Ms. Kazi, do you have any thoughts?
Can you guys hear me now? So I'm going to try this. Dr. Baca, the first time I had the pleasure of meeting you in your interview with the board, I knew you in person for the job and would be an extraordinary superintendent for the Madison District. Since you joined us, that sincere, thoughtful, wise person I met that night has been the exact same person who I've had the pleasure of working with. I have marveled at your work ethic, insight, resolve, and humility. I cannot imagine how you have navigated the past 2 years without you, and this is what it that I don't even understand yet. Please enjoy your well-deserved retirement and stay in touch. You leave Madison a much better place than when you first joined us, because I believe you put the service and servant leader.
Thank you, Ms. Causey.
Thank you. I've known Dr. Baca for at least 25 years.
20 years.
No, it's been longer than that because it was when you get Kenilworth.
We met in 2002. But this is like this. We'll argue because I didn't start at
We've been
Kenilworth until
arguing ever since.
2002.
Feel like an
That's
old
20
married
years.
couple.
Yeah, when he was principal at Kenilworth School, and I cajoled him to get on a float and the electric light parade with my Kiwanis Club. He was a great leader then of the school, and I followed into his career when he went to Phoenix L and was working there at the district office and then in Tempe. And then when we had the opening for superintendent, to have him come and interview was something very special because I knew the character of the person. But then I got to appreciate the character of the professional that we got. And Dr. Baca brought a number of firsts to our district. For me, it was the first, although I've worked with a number of superintendents, you were the first one who came with experience already being a superintendent, which has served you and the district very well. You're also the first one, I think, who goes to bed before 8 o'clock every night, maybe 7. You're also the first superintendent we've had who's been on a game show for a short period of time, but you were on a game show. I really look forward to having you be the superintendent when you first came and we hired you. I couldn't have imagined how much I would have gained respect and appreciated you as a superintendent as going through this. All the things that we've had to go through, it hasn't always been fun, but I've always been extremely proud of you as a superintendent and what Madison and what you've been able to do with Madison. One of the things, there's 2 things I think sums up what I believe, what I take away from you being a superintendent, is how you have worked to improve the culture, not the academics, but everything, but the culture of the district, from the children to the teachers, principals, and the staff, and how people work together. And I think in my mind, that's been summed up in one word that I've seen more since you've been superintendent than I think in the rest of my life, and that is the word grace. And you use it very well, but you model it even better. And that has become a new, very important word in my vocabulary, thanks to you. So while I'm very sorry to see you go, I'm very thankful that I've had the opportunity to have you serve this district and help us move so much forward. I can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Thank you for the kind words.
I will yield to this year's request, and I'll let her go last, mainly because she wrote hers down. So when we first hired you, I was the most reluctant board member wanting to hire, not just because you went to ASU, but I thought you were too slick. I thought you, and then once you came on board, I realized that was genuine, that you cared, and I came at it from a very cynical place dealing with politics, but you came in with a genuine compassion and love for the kids. Your work in managing the district during the pandemic is something I will never forget. And it was an amazing effort. While I didn't agree with all your decisions, the amount of effort and passion, and we could all see the stress on your face by making these hard decisions. And I think at the end of the day, we weathered the storm far better than most districts. And I think a lot of that is because of your leadership. Second thing is you got an old crotchety guy like me to actually believe in social emotional. You know, I came at it from an old school, we're here to educate, but you won me over, and I think the approach that we took with that is an approach that I would have never have taken, but it was the right approach, and I think that was helping me along on that process. I appreciate the way you show personal compassion to the board members with all of our tragedies is very much appreciated. So, what do you miss? I was the first one to cry.
Stop it. I had to write this down because I knew I would not get it right. So, there's an anonymous quote about leadership that fits Dr. Baca to a T. True leaders always practice the 3 R's: respect for self, respect for others, and responsibility for all their actions. Dr. Baca, since his first interview, has embodied this. He has demonstrated respect for others through some of the most trying times in education, all while maintaining responsibility for Madison students, staff, and families. I admire his commitment to his faith and integrity. At times, I have relied on his unwavering support and faith that we were making the right decisions, however unpopular. That is not to say that Dr. Baca does not harbor self-doubt. He is the opposite of arrogant, and as a student of John F. Kennedy, considers leadership and learning as indispensable to each other. That is one of John F. Kennedy's quotes. Kenneth is reflective and rarely, if ever, makes impulsive decisions, as he knows the best direction is usually evident if you trust the process, which in Madison means relying on a strategic plan, our strategic plans, mission, vision, and core values. He makes me proud of Madison, and to say he will be missed is an understatement. He has said that he will make a call to the public, however, if he sees us going astray. I would be delighted to see Kenneth on the other side of the microphone and challenge him to stay within the 3 minutes. On a more personal note, I will miss seeing Kenneth and having an excuse to regularly talk. Kenneth has helped me survive the most difficult time in my life by being an empathetic and constant presence. You started it. Even if it was just a morning text of encouragement and, of course, an inspirational quote, as we all know, he is fond of them. I relied on him most Sundays more than my own family. He offered a non-judgmental support during my husband's hospitalization and long after his death. His dedication to me and my family, as well as my husband, is something I will carry in my heart forever. Dr. Baca is quite simply an extraordinary human. Thank you for being medicine superintendent and also for being my friend.
Thank you all so very much. I will carry those words with me forever. Thank you.
All right. Any other thoughts, comments? Now on to item 9.1, future meetings.
Seriously?
You tried to save us $20,000 by not voting on it.
Oh my God!
I thought that was slick. I thought that was. Yeah.
I am sorry. Sarah got me all emotional.
That's why I said serious.
I am conservative. Do I have a motion on item 8.2?
So moved.
Second.
Please vote. Sorry about that.
Nice try, Mr. Wildcat. You also forgot to mention I got you to wear an ASU baseball cap.
Wow, that's because my basketball team didn't do so well. I almost wore a Wildcat hat today. All right. It is unanimous. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And we look forward to your retirement, and I'll be enjoying all the things you couldn't do while you were spending endless hours running our school district for us.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Now on to item 9.1, future meetings.
Thank you, Dr. Osborne, members of the governing board and executive team. Dr. Guerin would have loved to have been here. Unfortunately, it's her last board meeting in Scottsdale. So she went over the calendar with me and with Ms. Humphrey. Something just to highlight in regards to the July 12th board meeting. That's when it's a special board meeting where you'll officially adopt the proposed budget. On August 4th, to keep in mind and reserve the fact that is the welcome back staff event. From 8 until 11. You're used to having it on a Friday, so I don't want you to default to Friday, the first Friday in August. That's actually a Thursday. And then the next thing that I would call your attention to will be two more items. One is the study session that you will have on Monday, August 29th all day. And then the next is when you start your the school reports, which is a study session, to mark on your calendars that will begin at 4 p.m. You have that on September 13th and then again on September 27th. So I'm just highlighting what you may want to get on your calendars and mark on there ahead of schedule so that you have that information.
Any thoughts, suggestions? The only thing that I would probably want to have, and actually probably have this on the mid-July meeting, is an update on any additional funding coming to we'll approve the budget, but if you can include Ms. Garvey in your presentation, that item, just so we can start thinking about.
Are you talking about it at the July 12th?
Yeah, we'll have the finalized state budget amounts, so while we wouldn't vote on it, if we have to do it either as an informational item or as part of that item, just so we kind of have an idea. So in August, we can start thinking about what kind of resources we have to work on. Any other thoughts? Alrighty, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Can I ask a procedural question? If we don't adjourn the meeting, does that mean Dr. Baca can't retire?
That would be no. It does not mean that.
That was alrighty. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Have a second.
I'll give a second.
Please vote. You can filibuster all you want, but the meeting's going to end. You know, we could have had a nice dinner party with someone who would have objected, but yeah, that's not what I'm.
So when she's back, you're saying.
Yeah.